And there we go. We should be going live. Hello, hello, ladies. And well, if we have some gents hanging out with us tonight, maybe, I don't know. We are so excited that you are here tonight with us for another community chat. We just said to the girls that I've been sad because we haven't been doing this for almost a month. That's crazy. But you know why? It's because we have some really, really awesome stuff that we've been working on in the background over the last couple weeks, couple months, since the beginning of this year. And so the good news is if you hang out until the end of tonight, you will get a sneak peek of the big announcement that we're going to be sharing with you guys tomorrow. So be sure to stay tuned for the end of it tonight. Tonight, we have some beautiful ladies with us with some really good experiences that we're gonna have some really good, serious talks today. I just said, does it feel like March and COVID has now been around for forever? I feel like it has. I feel like we're like in a whole nother year. And originally when we said, oh, things will move forward and we talked about having a new normal. Does anybody know what normal is? Now we're trying to work through it. So I think a lot of us, and we've been hearing it from the community over the last month, is a lot of people are just feeling stuck. It was almost as if we talked about a couple months ago about looking towards a new normal and what things were going to look like. We didn't really still think that we were going to be here, but we are, and it's almost September, and we're going to keep moving along, and we're going to keep doing the best that we can, because the only way that we can get through this is just looking at it one day at a time and keep moving forward. So tonight I have two amazing women that are going to talk to us about, one, coming back and figuring out your why. Why do you do what you do every day? Why are you passionate about your business? Why did you start your business? Because right now, I think a lot of us are questioning those, because we had these amazing businesses that were succeeding and we were doing all the things and they were great. And then the world flipped upside down and now we're questioning everything, right? So if we come back to our why, it's a really good place to start, reset, and move forward. And then we're also going to start talking about too, but what happens when you get stuck? What happens when you feel so overwhelmed and so paralyzed that you don't know what to do next? So I think these are going to be some great discussions. And I sometimes joke with the girls is that these discussions are for you guys, but I think selfishly they're just for us just as much. I sat here this afternoon working on some stuff and I said, I feel like I am so stuck. Good thing that we have some advice coming for us, right? All right, Kristin and Joanne, do you want to introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about you, about your businesses, and just what you've been up to. But Kristin, you want to take it first?
Sure. So my name is Kristin Frade. I live in Holly Springs right now, and I am a speaker, a coach, and a trainer, so like a corporate trainer. I love working with high-performing, highly committed individuals, which has been super fun because that can mean a lot of different things. So anything from an entrepreneur to an executive. And so, yes, these last few months have been very interesting for everyone. Especially the way my brain works, and I love kind of studying people in general. So it's been a great studying ground even for me too. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here too. All right, Miss Joanne, you want to say hey to everybody and tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Well, first I should say that I'm the queen of pivoting because I've pivoted my business twice this year. So hey guys.
That's why you're here.
Exactly. So I'm Joanne Wetzel, and my current business is I help female entrepreneurs and women in business specifically really overcome their self-limiting beliefs and cultivate worthiness to build more abundant businesses through my work as a certified life coach, YouTuber, and podcaster. So tonight, I'm really excited to join you guys because I'm going to be talking about really how we can overcome procrastination and reduce overwhelm, which overwhelm is definitely something that when you're pivoting, you're shifting, you're changing your business, or you're having to completely re-navigate what business looks like with this kind of ever-changing world that we live in. I have a lot to share. I've owned a lot of businesses, so.
I know, I'm so excited. This is gonna be awesome. So guys, everybody who's tuning in, we're gonna be answering any of your questions. So if you wanna drop any comments or anything on a video, feel free to ask questions there and I will relay them back to whoever you have questions for. Also, just say hey in the chat, let us know that you're here, and also tell us about what you've been doing the last couple months, and tell us, have you been feeling stuck, a little overwhelmed? Let us know about it, and then we can also bring you in here on the chat with us too. All right, now we also have two amazing ladies that are here from our community who are going to share with us the things they've been going through over the last couple months. I purposely called out both of these incredible women because I said, in your businesses, your world has been turned upside down with everything that's been going on. But these two incredible women not only picked themselves up and said, forget this, my business can't be what it used to be, but we're going to change it and make it something that I can still sustain it, still do what I love doing with knowing my why, pivoting in some way, and then continuing on, and then just waiting to see what kind of happens next, right? Laura, do you want to introduce yourself, say hey, and kind of tell us a little bit about you and then what you guys have been up to at Forever Bridal?
Sure. I'm Laura DiGirolamo, and I'm the creative director at Forever Bridal. We produce all of the wedding shows at the fairgrounds, and we do a few other things too, but predominantly bridal shows are what we do. Of course, COVID happened 2 weeks before our March show. That had to go away. We thought we'd be back in the game for August show. Of course, that didn't happen. So we made a major pivot and went all virtual for that show. It was a huge learning curve for us. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about how dependent we are on the vendors that participate in our wedding shows and how they've been impacted by all of this. And so that just kind of had an impact on us as well. So just trying to navigate everything together. We learned a lot about the behaviors of couples who are engaged now or who are rescheduling, postponing, and even booking farther out. So we've learned a lot. It's been really challenging, good and bad, but nonetheless. And we just celebrated our 25th anniversary of our business.
It's incredible.
Wow.
Our very first show was August 20th of 1995. So just a couple days ago. Yeah. So
a little bittersweet right now, right?
What's that?
I said a little bit bittersweet, but I bet knowing you guys, you're already planning out for a big party when we can, right?
I got all dressed up for nothing at the office the other day. Christina was there. We had lunch together. So we were supposed to have this big silver party and celebrate, but I had my own party.
I love it. So side note, you guys, we through my wedding photography business for many years, we participated with Forever Bridal, and it was some of the best exposure and experience that we got. But I will tell you is that they took care of their vendors, but it is so, I mean, it's 100% of what you guys do for those shows is really based off of seeing people, being in person, which completely isn't happening right now. And who knows what's going to happen in the future. So I love that you guys said, let's just figure it out and let's just do it. And you were up for the challenge. And from what I hear, it went really, really well.
It did. And I'll just say one thing before Christina talks a little bit is the whole goal of our events is to be in person and to meet and establish that rapport in those relationships, because weddings, are very intimate, personal experience. So going virtual was a whole different mindset as it was, but our why is putting vendors and couples together, making that connection, bringing those two groups of people together to be able to have a great wedding. And so we had to figure out a way to do that. If it couldn't be in person, we were going to figure that out for everyone.
I love it. Figure it out and just go with the flow, right? All right, Christina, you are in an industry that was hit super hard too. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Pinup Studios, and then what you guys have been up to.
So I'm Christina Kirky. I'm Pinup Studio. We're hair salon, lashes, makeup, basically anything beauty other than like facials and waxing, anything below the face. It was crazy. I think a lot of entrepreneurs go into business because we want to do our own thing. We don't want to be told no. So like all this happened, it's like, I'm not closing my salon. You're crazy. And then it's like,
tell me what to do. Oh, but maybe.
Yeah. Like, oh, and then one more month. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll do that. So, we've definitely pivoted our business when it comes to retail. Obviously, a lot of salons have retail, but we took the time while we were closed. We had our first live sale, which was a massive hit, which we did again for like a Christmas in July thing. I've never done that before. I think a lot of people, and that let a lot of clients finally, because they wanted to support small businesses as much as they could, but that took time for them to kind of try, little bit of a higher end product. And so now it's like we've seen our retail sales go, we've more than doubled last year in our retail,
Awesome.
which is great. Even when it comes to weddings, like our bridal industry or our bridal team was growing, and we still are. Like, weddings aren't the same. It's, we don't have bridal parties of 6 to 8, but there's still the bride and her maid of honor, or the bride and her mom and mother-in-law, and like they still want to feel beautiful.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think just we're all so very personable in there. We're basically therapists. So it was kind of cool to come back and see, the moms, the nurses, doctors, teachers, everybody kind of come in, and it was nice to see them leave. And you could tell, even with the face mask on, that they just felt that little bit of normalcy and they felt good again.
Yeah, it's so true. I will tell you, the first time that I sat down in my chair with my hairdresser, I was like, please fix this. And when I walked out of there, you just feel so much better when you take time for yourself. And, sitting in that chair was, again, a sense of normalcy. Like, yes, we had our face masks on and things were different. We had to talk louder and we had to take extra deep breaths because we couldn't breathe as well from talking too much. But it is, you guys being in a service industry, it's so hard because that was one of the things that I loved about Forever Bridal, was when you meet in person and you have these points of contact where you're face to face with someone and truly connecting. When you take that away, virtual is good. We have Zoom, which, I can't complain. This is good. But it doesn't replace the fact of just being able to sit across the table from someone and be able to interact. Kristin and I actually got together and had coffee this week, socially distanced in the booth. But it felt good. We joked, we're like, we feel like adults again, like being able to see each other and talk and be in a safe spot where, we can still enjoy each other's company and talk. It's a new world that we're living in. So I love to hear kind of stories of how you guys have been hanging in there and what have you been doing. Kristin has some stuff to share with us tonight, because when we were talking about this idea of what happens when you're stuck, what happens when you don't know what's next, it came down to the simple idea of, if you come back to the reason why you started your business, that's where your clarity is going to come from. And Kristin is really good at this and has a lot of good tidbits that I can't wait for her to share. So Kristin, can you kind of tell us more about your philosophy of why your why is just so important in your business?
Yeah, sure. So, there's like a whole lot of direction I
know we could go on forever, right?
But I'll spare you all. I will say, like, Laura, I even love what you said of knowing your why is pairing vendors and couples together, because it could have been easy, so to speak, to, when all this stuff happened, to just kind of like go in your own little hole and be like, well, we can't do anything about this. Like, we run an expo, like in-person expo. What can we do about this? I'll just have to wait it out. But it's not that simple. One, it's not just your family's livelihood that depended on it. It's like all these people and all these relationships that you built over the last 25 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like for a lot of people, it's all of that external stuff that couldn't get out of their head of, what about this person? What about this person? What about this person? But a lot of times when I'm at least working with somebody, COVID or not, right? Like, you've got to be knowing where that deep down internal motivation is really coming from. And so, because it's not easy to start a business, it's not easy to pivot a business, it's not easy to like scale a business. So there's always going to be challenges that come up. And so I love kind of talking through, like, why do you do what you do? And then somebody will usually give me a really surface level answer, to be honest, or they'll maybe say, well, to make money, like to pay my bills, which is fair, because otherwise, if you didn't need to make money, you could just go sit in a hole and watch Netflix for the last 6 months. Like, I don't know.
Hey, that kind of sounds fun too. Okay.
Yeah, I probably would get old after like a month maybe, but still, like, I've seen people work harder than ever over the last 5 or 6 months because they knew what their why was. And maybe like the outcome and the vision of what they wanted to do looks different, but it's usually that same intrinsic why that gets you out of bed in the morning to do the hard things. And, as you get up again the next day when you just got your teeth kicked in the day before, or like, you know, because I feel like with a lot of people that I've talked to, it's almost been like hard thing after hard thing after hard thing. And you take COVID on top of all of the deep social issues that we've had going on, which I feel like there's just been these waves of deep, like emotional things that have been happening to everybody. And then you throw in the mix of, oh, I'm now working from home, which I've never done, along with my spouse who's working from home, which they've never done, along with my kids also who are home 24/7. And I'm now playing teacher while also figuring out with their teacher what to, it's like so many things are being thrown at people, which is why I'm excited to hear even Joanne's take on the like kind of reducing that overwhelm and quieting the noise a little bit. But if you don't know that deep why, then you're not going to want to get back on the computer to do some work while your kid's napping, or you're not going to want to stay up until 11 or midnight getting some things done because you're already so tired and like mentally exhausted from the day. But when you truly know your why, like when you know that like deep down in your gut, like this would not be okay if I died and this didn't happen, I would not be okay with that. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
that
I love
major
that.
regret at the end of your life if it didn't happen. And so when you can get to that, and a lot of times I have to ask why like 7 times to get to that. So, you know, why do you do what you do? Oh, to make money and pay the bills. Okay, why is that important? So that my family can eat and we have a roof overhead. Okay, why is that important? Well, you know, we didn't have a lot growing up, so I'd love to provide more for my family. Okay, why is that important? Well, because I really struggled growing up and have all these like all this scar tissue and all these hard things from like having to work when I was 12 or having XYZ happen in my childhood or whatever. And I don't want that for my kids. Okay, why is that important? Because you don't like, do you see how like when you just keep asking why and you just keep getting to the root of it? I usually know when I've really hit somebody's why when they either start laughing hysterically or they start crying.
That is a really good point.
Yeah, because it's emotional. Like you have to have that emotional attachment to do the hard things, to like get through what you are trying to get through. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be hard days or there's not going to be like breakdown moments or, you know, moments of like, I don't know if I could do this. But for me, when I have those moments, because they still happen sometimes, when I have those moments, it's like, it's always my why that I go back to of like, okay, Kristin, why are you even doing this? Like, why is this all going to be worth it? Then it just kind of centers me and it brings me back to like this, just this emotional wave of encouragement almost to just keep going, right? Like sometimes you just need to take that next step. And I don't know if you guys have ever read the book 3 Feet from Gold or heard of that book at all.
No, what's it called? I'll drop it in the chat.
3 Feet from Gold. It's
3
great. I love story-based leadership books because some of the other ones are really dry. I'm not gonna lie. It's good content, but I like the story-based one. And it's a story-based one. And the whole idea is there's this guy that was mining for gold and he was like digging for years, put so much money in, so much time, investment, effort, all that stuff into it. And he finally just gave up and sold his land and sold all his equipment. And it turns out when he sold it to the next person, he was only 3 feet from striking this like massive, massive gold mine. And so a lot of times I feel like that too, and I'm just tired. It's like,
Yeah.
what if that next person is like my person? Or what if that next intake call is like my next lifelong client and friend, or what, you know? And so it's, I play a lot of that what if too with that too. So
That's so true. So Tessa just said, which is why I love this. She said, my why is I always want to make people smile. A smile goes a long way within someone's life. Something so simple, but can mean so much.
yeah, that's good. And thankfully, Tessa, that could be done like every day.
I know.
Gratefully.
I know. So I know that I'm going to call you out for a second, Tessa. Tessa was who I was just talking a second ago about doing my hair and making me feel like a normal human being again. But you know what also makes her happy? She's going to probably come after me for this later. She also teaches dance. And she's teaching dance at my daughter's school, and somehow or another, in some crazy way of life, they're doing Zoom for the first couple weeks until they're allowed to meet in person again. And somehow or another, Tessa ended up being my daughter's coach, my daughter's teacher for the next 3 weeks. And so tonight I'm sitting here watching her sitting in my office, and she's doing her hip hop and she's carrying on. So I left and went upstairs so that she could do her thing on her own. She comes running up the stairs afterwards. So enjoy this, Tessa. And she was like, Mommy, I just had the best time. She's like, it was weird, but I had so much fun. And she was just smiling from ear to ear. So Tessa, you've got your why no matter what you do in business and in life. I love it. So if somebody is really struggling with that idea of coming back to your true why, you said that you tend to ask people lots of questions over and over and over again. Without somebody to walk through that with them, like having you around or having somebody else to bounce ideas off of, how can you challenge them to really get down to that core why, rather than just saying, well, I like what I do, or it makes me happy, or I make money? So how can you dig like even deeper with that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, one simple thing could literally be ask yourself why at least 7 times, like on a piece of paper, brain dump. Why is this important? Why do I do what I do? Okay, why is that important? Okay, why is, just at least 7 times. And then I would say a telltale way of figuring out if you've reached it or not is if you're actually motivated to do the hard things. Because if you still are stuck and you still are like overwhelmed and like, what day is it? Then you have not figured out why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that is the hard part sometimes too, because I think now that people have had a lot of space to just think of all the things and have so much brain stuff swirling in their head, there are a lot of people that are thinking about pivoting or wondering like, have I wasted the last 10 years doing this job? You know what I mean? And I just want to say, or I want to give you permission that you can pivot, switch, change careers at any time. Because if it takes you towards that why of it is not okay if I don't accomplish this by the end of my life, then why waste another year? Like, the time is going to pass anyway. You might as well be moving in the direction of something that you love, that you enjoy. Because I feel like you feel it. You feel it when you know you're like walking in the right space and walking in the direction of achieving your why or getting to your why. So if you don't feel it, then get a mentor, get a coach, somebody to help pull some of that out of you, because you're not there yet.
Yeah, I love that. So I work with a lot of the high school youth at my church, and the kids, I love them dearly, but nowadays they're so stressed out worrying about, you go from middle school to your freshman year of high school and they're worried about what class they're going to take because, they have to have this class so they can take this next class as a sophomore, this one as a junior, so they can have all these classes finished by the time they're a senior. Because if they don't have these classes, they don't have this GPA and they don't have this, they're not going to get into college. And they have to decide what they want to do and what college they want to go to basically by the time, they're a sophomore is what the schools are telling them. And I have all these kids that are just so stressed out and so overwhelmed with it. And the one thing I always encourage them and remind them is just like you were saying, like, you can't really do anything wrong. It's just another step on your journey. So you end up getting a job out of college that you're there for 2 years and you realize it's not your dream job. Great. That gave you one more step towards finding that dream job. And it's just one step after the next. That's good. So Laura, you were super, super straightforward as far as what you felt your why was. How did you guys come to that? Like, at what point did you say, like, we definitely know what this is? Did that take a lot of planning, or was it something that just evolved naturally over time?
Well, we've always known what our why is. It's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward for us, and we're just in the business of helping. I mean, we both, Dom and I, both know that that's what we want to do. We want to help people. We want to help people's businesses be successful by putting them in front of their target client. We want to help couples be successful by booking vendors that they fall in love with, or that they're looking for their wedding or event. So that's just kind of been something that's come very naturally and very easy for both of us. But as I'm listening to Kristin, some really interesting takeaways. Being in business for 25 years, doing in-person events, there was a time period where we have been kind of fighting the internet and the onset of that, and how easy it is to Google a vendor, or, Google someone, find a vendor, make a phone call, look at a website. And so we really have, for the past few years, been working really hard to hammer home the importance of meeting people face to face at our events, and how especially photographers and the other vendors that you're going to be working with all day, and not even all day, just in the months leading up to your event, from engagement photos to bridal portraits. You know, that's just one particular category that the couple stays with for a long period of time up until their pictures are delivered. And there's others as well, but it was just always very important for us to stress, like, you need to meet these people. You need to know if you vibe with them, you're going to be with them through your entire 18 months of planning your wedding.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and we can't talk to people and meet people in person.
COVID happened.
Yeah, which I think is what everybody is saying nowadays. So all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, now here's our opportunity. We're going to do it virtually. We can't meet in person. We still have this need to connect people. Weddings are still happening right now from everyone who already had one. There's people that are still planning weddings. So we knew we had to make the switch. It wasn't easy. It was very, very difficult to do, mostly because we're just living in a world of not knowing when is the next restriction going to lift, when, you know, what's the magic number going to be then? Is it still going to be, you know, 50% to come in Christina's salon, or, you know, every other table in a restaurant? It's just, we're just in limbo. And I think not being in control is the hardest thing, especially for an entrepreneur, because the whole reason we want to be in business for ourselves is to be in control. Mm-hmm. And I don't know anybody who feels 100% that they have control right now. And so making that switch to virtual was very difficult for us, but we decided if we can't have the August show, then we're going to have to do something. So interestingly enough, after having it, it wasn't everything that we wanted it to be. There's still more things that we have to learn. It wasn't everything for us. It certainly wasn't everything for the vendors who participated. And I'm sure it wasn't everything for the brides and couples that attended virtually as well. But one thing that I think COVID has done for me is kind of dispelled my whole fear of the internet taking over, and couples being able to plan their wedding without a wedding show. I feel like, okay, that's not going to happen, because I know people are ready to get out and meet people and get back to socializing. Mm-hmm. Even the generation that is my target customer, that is predominantly on the internet, I think those shows are going to flourish when we're able to do that again. So I got a little bit of validation for what I was already doing. And that felt really good. And I've gotten a little bit of validation for being able to still provide something for the people who need it. Oh my gosh, sorry about that.
It's okay, welcome to real life.
I know. So this has been a lot of different things for me. Certainly a roller coaster of emotions, for sure.
For sure, most definitely. Christina, what about you? You know, how many years have you been in business now?
5 years, but I've been
behind
the chair for 10.
You said you're what?
I've been behind the chair for 10.
Yes. But I have heard, for those of you who were at Illuminate last year, you got to hear a little bit of Christina's story. But I know that when you came into what you were doing, like, you have passion like I have not seen in a lot of entrepreneurs. You were like, I don't care what is put in front of me. Like, we're going to make this work because I love what I do. And you are just so darn passionate about everything that you do. So when you looked at your why, like, again, was that something that you knew from day one when you started your own salon that was what you wanted? Or was it something that slowly progressed and changed over time?
I think my role in my salon has definitely changed more than I thought it would.
Yeah.
I've always been very girly. I would do in-home spas for my mom and my dad. Like, yes, I did my dad's makeup. I painted his toes. Like, so when I was in cosmetology school, like, me and him always talked about me opening a salon, and that was kind of the goal. And so then, you know, I graduated cosmetology school. I was in and out of a few salons for about 4 or 5 years. And then this all happened. And my whole reason in wanting to create something, it kind of flourished so much, but I never felt like I fit into like one specific table growing up. Like, yeah. I liked everybody, and but I never felt like I like fit in with any particular.
So you made your own table.
I made my own table, and that's where it's like, everyone loves a pinup girl. That's like our main slogan, because like, if you think about it, like Marilyn Monroe wasn't a size 0 with this, like she had curve like no other, and she was beautiful. But it's like, you know, everybody wants to feel you're your own beautiful with your hair, your lashes, your lip, whatever it is, like, and watching women embrace that. So that was kind of my like why I liked doing it. But then once I started getting my like girl gang, I kind of pivoted, because it was, I like to watch them grow. One of my stylists, Katie, I'd tell her that all the time. When she started, she was so nervous. And it's just been crazy. She's been with me for over a year now, and it's been crazy to see her grow, to see her confidence grow, and to know like I got to be a part of that journey with her, and to watch her do all of that. My dog is rolling around on the floor behind me. Like,
I told you, my dogs got locked upstairs with my daughter. I didn't actually lock them all. They're voluntarily there.
busted in here like she owns the place. But so I mean, it's just, you know, and coming back from being closed, because I was working behind the chair on clients for anywhere from 30 to 40 hours a week, then running the business.
That's exhausting.
I was dead.
Yeah.
You know, my marriage like suffered with certain things. Obviously, I'd come home and he's getting like 10%. And,
are you going back to work now?
right. And so then coming back, I let my clients know, like, look, I'm not going to be behind the chair more than this. And my clients still supported me. Obviously, I expected to lose a few, but they believe
you.
And in my stylist. And so they're still coming. So it's kind of cool to like grow a place that everybody's comfortable at.
Oh, that.
Can I jump in real quick on that? Christina, I love what you even said about going back and saying, hey, basically, here's my boundaries. You know what I mean? Like, this made you go through your values. Because this was, I had a huge business shift last year. And our first thing we did was we went through what are our family values, and we're going to filter all of our other decisions through that, which including the why. And so when you went back, I think I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you knowing your why of combination of your family and what you love to do with your salon, like you said, you have found that you love watching your people grow. So you knew you could step back a little bit and focus more on your family because you knew the people there were going to grow with your help, right? And so, but I think the heart, like knowing your why and why it's so important is you could have gotten hung up on like, oh, I don't know, like I don't want clients to leave me, I don't want people to be mad. Like you can let other people dictate a lot of what you do when you're not super strong with that. But the fact that you like knew it, like this is what's happening, you know, like in your gut makes it easier. Like that was a hard decision, right? To go back. So,
but like even being like, it was obviously nobody wants to be shut down or anything, but kind of like even having one of my best friends, she's like, before we opened, it was probably like 3 weeks in. So, well, I definitely still cried, but I wasn't crying every day at this point. So she's like, you look so much more like well-rested and happier, because I could sleep finally. And I could spend this time with my husband and spend this time doing stuff at my house that I had put off for so long. And so it was like, it definitely made me want to settle the fear of like, oh my gosh, but what if this client doesn't come back? And it kind of hit the point where it's like, you know what, like mentally, physically, if it's not meant to be, and unfortunately they don't want to see me again, like I'm going to miss them, but I need this for my own sanity, because I felt like I was losing my mind.
yeah.
I love that you put up that boundary. And I think, like you just said, Kristen, that's a good point. We've been talking about your whys in your business, but then you also look at, you know, we all started our business as entrepreneurs because most likely we wanted better for ourselves in our personal lives. So I love that you're tying that why back into your personal life. Oh, those are good, you guys. Those are good. Okay, so I have one over here. Carrie Stafford said in the comments, this year has been one of the biggest lessons is in letting go of control and being at peace with that.
Yeah,
Who can feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Everybody.
been hard, but I think Christina, what you said really probably rings true for a lot of people is, you know, the situation that the world is in right now, like nobody would ever hope or wish or pray this on what we're going through now. And, you know, the havoc and the devastation that has happened, not only through COVID, but through social injustice and everything that's happening. But at the same time, I say, if we don't look for those silver linings and look at the ways that we can say, okay, this sucks and it's horrible that it's happening, but what's the good that can come out of it? I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs have realized very quickly is that we're constantly putting ourselves last. And that if we build sustainable businesses, they're still going to be there and we're still going to figure it out. And we're going to figure out how to pivot because we know our why and we can come all back to that. But at the same time, that doesn't, take away from the fact of how scary and how overwhelming and just how uncertain. Laura, I love how you said, none of us know what's going to happen. And that, I think, is just really scary. And we at Ben Raleigh, we've been struggling with that too. We had all these great, amazing plans starting in January and February, then put them on hold in March and said, well, what are we going to do? Well, we'll just wait until we can meet in person again. And now that we know that that's really not going to be happening anytime soon, we got to figure out what we want to do and how we want to move forward. So Joanne, this is where I'm going to come over to you, because I think we can call you the queen of pivoting this year. But I think what's so amazing is that you truly came back, and I think from talking to you, you were really excited about your first pivot, but then you came back after the second one, you're like, no, this was what brought me to the journey of this is where I really need to be. This is where I'm passionate about, and this is where I'm ready. So can you want to kind of tell us your own personal journey with that? And then also please give us all the tips, because we need them all, because this year is not.
Yeah. So it really goes back to what Kristin was talking about with my why, and how I knew that I wanted to help female entrepreneurs and women in business in some way. And I come from Christina's background of doing hair and makeup. And in my time of being a hairstylist and a makeup artist, there were a lot of themes, and also collaborating with other women in business during that time, there were multiple themes that I saw that women really struggled with. And were things like the limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves, like that I'm not worthy and that I'm not good enough and I'm not capable. And also just, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I always get on a roll and then I completely lose my train of thought. But just that they didn't believe in themselves, right? And then they were comparing themselves and they were self-sabotaging and they were really struggling with like fear. And so I took July, I really had like a social media hiatus, and I took a lot of time to journal and to learn and to really just sit in. I knew that I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be, simply because I wasn't getting out of bed for it. I didn't feel inspired by it. I wasn't super motivated. It wasn't energizing to me. So I sat with that and I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? And one theme and one idea that has really run through everything that I've done in business is help to empower women. And because I've healed my own self-worth, and because I have done all of this incredible like legwork and learned all I can about personal development and self-improvement to heal myself and to heal my self-worth, like I was like, this is what I should be doing. Instead of starting from scratch and learning a new skill set, I'm like, I already have the skills and the tools that I need to be able to help other women with this. So that's kind of the short story of it.
I know we all have very long stories as to where we were and now where we're going to get where we're at. And then guess what? It's the beauty of the journey that we're on. There's going to be so many more stories ahead of time. So we have you down for a couple topics that you want to share tonight, talking about overwhelm and just reducing those anxieties and those worries. Which one do you feel is the biggest one that you want to share with us tonight? And let's start there.
Yeah, I think right now, I think people just in general feel overwhelmed, right? Yeah. We feel stuck. And I know that, even in the best of times, overwhelm can be really difficult to kind of combat. So I want to share a couple of things, but obviously like this would probably work a lot better in a normal time for sure. But I feel like when we feel stuck and when we feel overwhelmed, it's really that we need to expand our knowledge in some area and find answers, because especially during COVID, we're kind of navigating new territory. And much like what Laura was saying, she was like, I'm not familiar, I'm not comfortable with like just bringing my entire business onto the internet. Like I still want to have those face-to-face interactions, but how can we perhaps do something that is virtual based so that we can still continue to grow our business? So when it comes to reducing overwhelm, one thing that I think that we do, especially when we're pivoting, we're shifting, we're changing in our businesses, is we look at the mountain and we're like, oh my gosh, how do I get there? I have no idea.
Too big.
Yeah, it's too big, right? And we just look at it and we're like, well, I don't want to do anything. I'm going to procrastinate because it's just terrifying. And our brains are designed to keep us comfortable. It's not designed to cause us to want to do anything that's hard. So then we just procrastinate, and then we don't pursue those things because it's scary and it's terrifying. So I think when we start to build our knowledge in an area, we can then also start to, what Kristin was saying earlier, like brain dump. When we're pivoting and we're shifting and we're changing our business, what is everything that we know that we need to do right now? And what are some other things that we can look into in order to figure out what the next steps are? And then write all of those steps down. And then we can say something along the lines of, all right, here are 50 things that I know I want to do for my business. Here are the 20 that are most pressing. And here are the 10 or 5 that are going to move my business forward either today, this week, or this month. And that really helps to build a path and a road up that little mountain or that big mountain or what have you, so that it doesn't feel so scary. And you can actually see the steps laid before you, and you can check those off every single time that you accomplish one of them. And that's really, truly been super helpful for me.
I love that you say that. Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so y'all, overwhelm for me right now is crazy. So yes, I'm the leader and owner of Vendrali, but I'm an entrepreneur, just like the rest of you guys in my other businesses. And I am a photographer, which is very tricky right now. Again, it's very hard to photograph people virtually, right? But then on top of that, we're also in the middle of building out our brand new studio. So overwhelm is something that I have been dealing a lot with lately. And I love what you just said about taking and just writing it all down and prioritizing it, because I'm a list type of person. I don't have, my list is somewhere around here. But I love paper and I love being able to physically check off the things. But a friend of mine suggested trying to do like a virtual, like online checklist, and they suggested using Asana. And so I made myself an account, made all these projects, and literally brain dumped all of the ideas and then started organizing them. And it says, there's one section that says urgent. And so there are those things that like, I have to get done today. And then the next one says this week, and then next week. And then it says next month, and then it says just sometime. The last category literally just says sometime. And it made it feel so much more obtainable when I could literally say, okay, here's what we're going to do for Vendrali. Here's what I'm going to do for photography. Here's what we have to get done for the studio right now. And I literally went through, brain dumped everything, and then prioritized them. So it wasn't that I was trying to bite off and chew everything at the same time. I literally came down and said, okay, this is what has to get done today. And the rest of it, it can wait till the end of the week. It can wait until next week. And to me, that was so freeing when I physically could shut my computer at the end of the day and say, there's nothing on that list that cannot wait until tomorrow. So I love that. You guys let me know in the comments. I liked Asana. I just tried it out because that's what they told me. Do any of you ladies use any sort of like online organization or have some sort of organization where you do those brain dumps to try and reduce that overwhelm?
Yeah, I put it in the comments too. I've used Trello before, which I know that's a free one.
Trello, is that like Asana? I don't know.
Very similar.
Yeah, I use Asana too, and I really like it. And one other thing that I wanted to say that I think might be really helpful for like beating procrastination and motivation is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the 5-minute exercise. So if you feel overwhelmed, you feel like you just are not getting enough, not getting anything done, but you got to get started. Cause like motivation does not come from within. Like we all know, motivation is just comes from taking action and getting started. So whenever I don't want to work, I don't want to do a big project or tackle anything major, I'll just start with 5 minutes and I'll give myself, I'm like, you know what, just 5 minutes. And then that turns into 10 minutes and then 30 minutes and then 3 hours. And next thing I know, I'm like halfway through the project that I was procrastinating on. So that might be something that might be helpful for you guys, just to remember, okay, just 5 minutes. And you can do 5 minutes a day if you want, whatever that looks like for you, just to help you get motivated and get started.
I love that idea. So I have my Apple Watch tells me if I haven't moved at, 10 till the next hour, it says it's time to get up. It's time to stand. And for the longest time, I got irritated on it. I was like, I'm in the middle of something. I am focused. I am getting stuff done. And then I realized very quickly that when I actually took the minute to get up and walk around and clear my head, that I felt much better when I came back. I love that tip. All right.
Can I actually share what I've been doing right now? That's super helpful. Because that, like, everything Joanne is saying is great. And Amber, I even love what you do with like your multiple businesses.
That's insane. Just don't do it, y'all, right now.
I'm only sharing this because I know that there's gonna be people out there that are like, thank you for dumbing it down like extra steps, because I needed to do that for me. Was like, it wasn't just my business stuff that I felt like I wasn't making progress on. Because here's the thing too, is it is worse to feel like you are not making progress than it is to feel like you're busy. So I'll say it like, it is worse to feel like you are not making progress than it is to be busy. And most of us are like, gosh, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. But when you feel like you're not making progress on stuff, that's when it really sucks. And it like gets to you internally. And so what I've been doing is like, I kind of call it winning the day. And it's very similar to this, but it's like a super low level of like, if I have to make a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, like those things will go on my to-do list, because I would just be so overwhelmed with all the things I needed to do for the day, not just my business, but like personal stuff of like, go get school supplies for my kid and, go groceries, like all the life stuff too, like that takes up mental space as well, right?
Yeah.
And so every day, I've been doing this for probably about a month now, I make a to-do list of just the things for the day. So very similar to this, but I add in the personal stuff too. And if I know I have almost all day with my kids because my husband's out working, my to-do list is very short, meaning I have very low expectations for myself today, right? Because I want to make sure I win the day. And so if I can cross at least those couple things off, then I feel good at the end of the day. Even if it's like only one thing from my business was on there, but I at least got all the life stuff out of the way, I would still feel good about myself and about my day. And like, because when all that life stuff gets pushed off too, I feel like that's almost worse, because then you feel like you're letting everybody else down too.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
that helps somebody.
No, and I was actually going to say, I write down this is like my daily. So I write down like walk the dogs, cook dinner. Like I'm like you, I include the personal stuff, because even though I know I need to cook dinner, like if it's not on there, it just completely goes out the window.
It feels good.
Yeah, and it feels really great. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. One last thing that I just wanted to share that just might be a really great reminder for everybody is, I have a friend, and she said this to me last year, and she was like, we get to have these businesses. Like, yes, it's during COVID, and yes, it sucks right now. And like, yes, we've all had to pivot and we've lost clients, and like things have been very scary. But like at the end of the day, I think it's an inspirational reminder to say that like, I get to do this and I get to figure it out. And I have fortunately, I have the resources and the community and the support around me, unlike a lot of women in other countries who only wish that they had the resources and the capabilities that we have. So whatever you're feeling, just like stuck or overwhelmed or any of that, I think that's just a nice sort of mindset shift that we can make to feel a little bit more joyful and inspired.
That's so true. I love that. I think I have a hard time that when I am feeling overwhelmed, I just start immediately procrastinating, because I'm really bad at it and I'm trying to do better, you guys, but I will mindlessly scroll Facebook. And it's not that I even give a care about anything that's going on, because it's like a puppy video and political ads and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I don't even want that mess in my brain. But it's just almost that redundancy of scrolling just lets my mind almost go blank, so that I feel like I'm taking a break, which is not really taking a break. Do you find, so this is me selfishly asking too. So I love the idea of taking 5 and getting up and doing that. But what are some other things that you can do if you find yourself just so overwhelmed, you get to a point where you're almost ready to shut down, like you just don't want to do it? I've been trying to start morning routines. I'm not a morning person. I'm trying to do better. I've been doing things where I'm like, oh, I'll let the dogs out and I'll go work in the garden for 10 minutes. Or maybe I'll check out and go read a book for a couple minutes or something. But then I have a really hard time turning things off. So like if I'm focused on one subject, like I am dead focused until it's done, or almost, where I can be done. And so the idea of me going off and doing something for 5 minutes can be a little bit more difficult, because I go away for 5 minutes, but I still feel like I'm still processing everything in my brain, and I'm really not giving my mind a second to take a rest. So selfishly, do you have any good tips for me? Because this is something I struggle with.
I would say it's probably in that time where you need a little bit more clarity. You know what I mean? So maybe it would be best when you are feeling that, because I think we do mindlessly scroll, like when we're procrastinating, but then we're only intaking more of that digital clutter. And then we're looking at what, our friends doing and what so-and-so is doing and what their, their business looks amazing. And then we start that negative self-talk. So I think taking the time to go for a walk, but completely disconnect and get out in nature. I know sometimes like when I'm in the car, I'll turn the radio off, or even when I'm in the shower and it's just silent and I don't have anything playing at my, my thoughts or no distractions whatsoever, that I get the most clarity of kind of like, okay, where do I need to start? What needs to happen next? What's the most important and vital thing that's going to get me to that next step? So maybe instead of procrastinating and spending time, but like being zoned into the digital, digital side of things, like just kind of take a moment and a few minutes to breathe and like go step outside, go walk your dog, stretch out on your yoga mat, whatever that looks like for you. And I think you'll get some clarity there for sure.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it comes back to why am I doing all of the crazy things? I think that goes back to you, Kristin, is it's like, why is this thing on my to-do list? Like, yes, I'm a victim of I'll write down, call the doctor, because it feels good to check those things off. But then at the same time, you'll start looking at your to-do list and it's like, why is this even on my list? Like, this really shouldn't even be a priority. Is this really even getting me any further in my business? Or am I literally just putting this as a task that I feel like I have to do out of obligation? What were you going to say, Laura? You look like you were ready with a good idea.
Well, I'm a super organized person. It's just one of my passions is organizing. Not only things like in baskets and buckets, but just your time. I'm a huge time organizer as well. And something I started doing a lot of research on, and especially during this time of COVID, when I had more time to read about things, is time blocking. And I didn't realize this, but we do time blocking in our life every day, whether you realize it or not. You pretty much get up at the same time. Your kids have to be at school at the same time. So you have a routine that you go through in the morning. You cook dinner every day, or you go out for dinner, or you something for dinner, and it's usually around the same time. So I started doing that on my own, and I started off very general and very vague, so it didn't feel like I was micromanaging my day, but I put in everything that happens every day, like get up, get showered, whatever that might be. And then I started making little blocks of time throughout the week, and I just did a week at a time so I could get comfortable with it, of looking at that to-do list and then organizing those tasks into different groups. So if you have something on there like call the doctor, shop for school supplies, those personal things, then you could block off an hour in your morning for personal stuff. Yeah. And then just call the doctor, go get the school supplies, run by the grocery store, do that stuff in that hour, and then block that next hour or 2 hours, whatever you might need to, Amber, you said you have a bunch of different businesses going on at one time. So if you could give yourself, an hour a day on each of those 3 businesses, then you feel like you're at least making some progress on everything rather than no progress on all of it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found that I started doing a couple months ago was kind of like the idea of batch processing, but it was done within each of the brands. So say, on Monday, I may focus on my photography. On Tuesday, I'm focusing on what we're doing for Vend. And it helped me almost that idea of like, I wasn't switching my brain mindset. So I wasn't switching to like my client experience for my photography and scouting out locations and editing on the same days that I was trying to plan out, networking events and meeting with people. And so having that little bit of a differentiation, because Joanne, I don't remember what it was that I was listening to you on, but you were talking about decision fatigue. And that is one, like, I think that a lot of us are suffering with right now. Can you talk for a second about that? Can I call you out on that? I know that wasn't on the list, but I think this also feeds in with a lot of what we're going with feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's really back to Laura's point about you time block, right? So you already know certain things that you're going to be doing on certain days of the week. So you're not having to think, right, about all those extra little decisions. Like I know there are certain times of the week where I get certain tasks done. So like Wednesday is my filming and YouTube editing day, my content day. And that's all I do that entire day. I don't do anything else. But also I like to meal plan and meal prep. So like on Sundays, if you're able to do that, if that's, you have the time to do that. So when you wake up in the morning, you're essentially removing as many decisions as possible. Like set out your clothes the night before. Think about how you're going to wear your hair the next day, or if you're going to wash your hair, whatever that looks like. What route are you going to take to work? Lay out like what you're going to do throughout that day, because what happens is by the time we actually get invested in doing the things that we need to do for our business, we've already, gotten the kids set up at school and gotten their breakfast and, having their lunch made and taking care of the dog and getting hubby out the door, whatever. Like, so you're already exhausted by the time you get to do the things that you need to do in your own business. So whatever way that we can make it as seamless as possible, where we can have those small wins of like, okay, I've got my clothes laid out already. I already know what I'm going to have for breakfast, to remove as many decisions as possible, then we can have more of that energy that's going to actually go into the decision making and the project planning, like in our businesses.
I love that. I'm such a victim to decision fatigue, because sometimes we'll get to dinner and my husband, he works in a restaurant, so a lot of times he brings home food, which is amazing. So our meal planning throughout the week at our house looks completely different. But that's always the joke, is that certain nights he'll say that he's in charge of dinner, and then he'll ask me halfway through the day when I am deep into my to-do list. He's like, "What do you want to do for dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't care. Like, it's your night. You figure it out. I don't care." "Well, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to?" I literally don't care. Like, I will eat whatever you put in front of me. I don't care. And he's like, "Well, aren't you in the mood for something?" I'm like, "Food. You can put food in front of me," because I can't make another decision. I literally said that the other day. We were sourcing, for any of you who have ever built out your own building before, the decision fatigue is so real. I have looked at enough doors and handles and light switches and faucets and sinks and toilets and mirrors and trash cans and knobs and kitchen counters and all of the things. I literally got to the point where I shut my computer and my husband goes, "Are you done?" And I was like, "No, I literally can't make another decision. I can't."
Yeah, mentally.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And I think the one thing that I've just had to realize too is that when you get to that point where you feel like you're just about ready to shut down because you can't do it, that's your body telling you and your mind telling you, like, you need a break, you need to stop, you need to walk away, whatever it takes. Like, your body shouldn't feel like that. Like, if you feel like you're going to explode, if you're feeling anxious or nervous or frustrated or angry, like, that's your body's way of telling you that something needs to change. It's that victim of overwhelm. Whew. This is good, you guys. I have absolutely loved this. Okay, so we have talked about all the things. Joanne, Kristin, is there anything else that you can think of that you didn't get to touch on tonight, or maybe just that we've been talking about tonight too, that brought up some other ideas for you?
One thing that I was curious about, I'll put it that way. When you say you start scrolling Facebook to procrastinate, or social media or whatever in general, I would challenge anybody that does that to start paying attention to what you're doing when you decide to start scrolling, because there's usually patterns there of what you're procrastinating against, if that makes sense.
Sorry, Kristin, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's pretty much it. Just start seeing if there's some themes in your day, in your life or business or whatever, of like, okay, every time I actually start doing this is when I'm like, I'm just going to take a couple minutes over here,
That's so true.
Because then you can, kind of work through that. And why am I doing this? And why is this, why do I keep putting this off? And why does this take so much energy? And you just get curious about it.
Yeah, that's so good. What were you going to say, Joanne?
Oh, no, just about what Kristin was saying, just about we get triggered by something. And so we fall into like an old, emotional loop or a negative pattern. And so I think sometimes if we just take 5 seconds to say, why am I feeling this way? To kind of recognize, why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, and then do the opposite, do something different. So instead of picking up the phone to scroll on Facebook, maybe we go get a glass of water, or we go outside for a few minutes or something like that, just to try to change that pattern a little bit. I didn't have anything else to share. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Kristin was saying. So
that's good. Well, and I was going to say, as a mom, I'm always telling the kids, I'm like, I can tell you're upset. I can tell you're frustrated. Can you tell me what you're feeling right now? Or, what are you doing that's making you feel like that? But I think as caretakers and the people who are trying to do it all, we often don't take a look at what that is that we're doing with ourselves right now that makes us feel that way too. We're quick to ask other people why, but not take the second to look at ourselves.
That's easy.
Christina said something to me the other day: space and grace.
Space
Sometimes
and
you just
grace.
have to give yourself space and grace.
So true. So true. I love it. All right, Miss Christina, tell me did you have any other questions for these ladies, or what was your favorite tip that they gave out tonight? I have way too many. I think all of them. I need help.
I know. It was good. I mean, like just do 5 minutes of it. And the next thing you know, it's almost like when you have like 4 or 5 loads of laundry piled up and you're like, how am I ever going to get through it?
Yes.
Uh-oh, I've lost y'all's audio.
And then you're like, wait a minute, it's done. So I think like doing that 5 minutes with any task, it would like, I mean, that definitely just like rang a bell with me.
Especially
Okay.
with everybody's like Alexa timers, you know? Like
Okay, I just lost my audio for a second. Christina, can you tell me again? Because I was excited to hear what you said. I'm like, wait, you're frozen. Come back.
I know. I was like, wait, is it me or was it yours?
It was definitely mine because I just popped over the thing that says your internet is unstable. Thanks. Appreciate it. Tell me again.
It was her 5 minute, like just do it for 5 minutes. The next thing you know, you've been doing it for like 30 minutes or more. And it really like, just like she said, like, it's just, you don't have that energy or motivation. You just jump in and just do it.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, Miss Laura? Did you have any other questions for the ladies tonight, or any other ideas or thoughts that you had with everything?
No, I mean, just great tips and advice from both of y'all, Kristin and Joanne, and how important it is to, I think, just not to underestimate the fact that it's okay to ask for help, and a mentor or a friend or a referral. And I think, coaching and, life coaching and business planning and all that, I think it's really important to have someone like that in your corner to be able to reach out to. So I commend both of y'all, because what you do is great and it's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so thankful for all you guys. Okay, so a couple things before we sign off for the night. Kristin and Joanne already have a good idea of the things that I'm about ready to share. But for those of you who decided to hang around, I'll give you a little sneak peek. We are making a big announcement tomorrow. So remember how I told you that me personally with Vendrali, we've been feeling that stuck of that waiting of, what are we going to do? When are we going to be able to meet in person? How is this going to look for us? Well, I jokingly say, if you've been a part of Vendrali for either a couple events or a couple years or from the beginning, we've always been based on in person. So just like Laura said, it's all about that connection for us. And it's really, really important for us to be together physically in the past. But that's something that we obviously aren't going to be able to do. So we have taken the last couple months to really sit down, talk to you guys, look through what we are going to be doing, and then figure out a way for Vendrali moving forward. So after gracious knows how many, probably hundreds of hours at this point of working with different women and talking through things in our incredible advisory board and our community leaders, we are super excited because you guys, Vendrali now has a path forward. So no matter what happens with COVID, we are back. So we are bringing back our regular education programs, but we've got a lot of stuff. So I can't even go into it all tonight. I'm going to go live tomorrow to fill you guys in. We're going to send out an email tomorrow. You'll see it. It'll be all over social. But the little sneak peek is that we're going to be back. But of course, right now it's going to be all virtual until it's safe for us to meet again. We're also looking at when it is safe for us to meet again in small numbers. If you heard the big announcement several months ago, the new studio that I'm building out is going to be the new home for Vendrali. So when it's safe for us to meet again in person, we're also going to try and do some hybrid events. So we'll actually have them in person for X number amount of people, whatever we're allowed to have at that point. But then we're also going to keep streaming them live so that you'll have access to them online if that's where your comfort level is. But going forward, each month, this is the inner teacher and educator in me, we're going to each month have an education topic. And so what that means that we heard from you guys was that over and over, you feel like you're just spinning your wheels. You're learning one thing about one topic and another topic and another topic, and never really felt like you had enough time to really dig in deep. So each month we're going to focus on one topic. And so next month, we're going to be talking about branding and looking at your business and really getting back to the basics, talking about your why, talking about what you do and how you present it to the world. And so we're going to be having, each month, we'll have a big education workshop. And so what this is, we'll have 2 different speakers come in and talk to us about our topic. And when we're allowed to meet in person, this will be a really fun get together every month. We'll have our speakers, there'll all be time for networking and just hanging out together. So we're going to be doing that, but right now it'll be done via Zoom. Yay. We're also going to continue on our community chats. So we're going to do community chats twice a month. So the second week and the last week of the month, we'll do community chat. So it'll look just similar to what we were doing tonight. We'll have 2 speakers on, come share about the topics. And then we're going to invite the rest of you as a part of the community to come on. So guess what? Next month, if you're struggling with your branding, you're not sure of your messaging, you're not sure if you're putting it out there into the world, let me know. We'll get you on here in this, with the community chat. And guess what? You get first access to these amazing instructors who are going to be teaching you all the things. And we get to put your business on the hot seat. So you get to ask all the questions one-on-one with them. So we'll have our education workshops, we'll have our community chats, and then we're also going to do a networking event. Again, it'll be a little weird via Zoom, but we're going to do the best that we can, do it with breakout rooms, have some challenges and some fun games for everybody so that we can still at least have a chance to see each other, meet new friends, and still be able to get together. The other thing that we're going to be doing every month, we have 2 more bits. One is going to be a book club. I am trying to be a better reader, but from what I hear, we have a lot of women in Bend Raleigh who like to read and have said this over and over again. So the amazing Kristin Bagwell is going to be starting a Bend Raleigh book club for us. She already has all of our titles picked out for the rest of this year and into next year. We're super excited about that. Again, that'll be virtual for now, and then that'll be in person when we get back to it. And then one of my favorite parts is each of these little workshops are going to give you a really good bit of a take home of some great interaction with other female business owners, but also give you some tangible takeaways to get your business better. But then at least once every other month, hopefully if not every month, we're going to do a big workshop. So remember those big meaty quarterly workshops that we used to do? We're going to be doing them again, but hopefully monthly. So Annie Franceschi is actually going to be back again next month, which I'm super excited. She's my branding queen, know her, best storyteller ever. She is going to be back next month for one, and then she's going to do part 1 now, and then there's going to be a continuing on into early next year for another one. So we've got lots of stuff. I can't wait to announce all of the exact details. We'll be sharing those tomorrow. So be sure to look for the email and tune in when we go live tomorrow. But I'm super excited. And I know several of you ladies, we already have you penciled in for other things in the next coming months. Laura, remember how you told me like time management and organization last time we talked? I've got you penciled in next year for something. So I know that I can always call on you guys, and we have so many incredible women. I can't wait for them to share their knowledge and their passion with their businesses and this going forward. So big announcement going tomorrow with all the details, but just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek. And so thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Before we head out though, I would love for each of you guys to let us know where people can find you at and how they can connect with you. And I think Joanne, you actually have a class coming up the end of this week too, correct? Is it this week?
Yes, I'm actually doing a self-limiting, you caught me off guard there. That's awesome.
Sorry, I was excited. It's on my calendar.
A self-limiting belief workshop called Transform Your Beliefs on Thursday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're just going to be talking about where self-limiting beliefs come from and how to recognize them, understand them, and then create new beliefs, and also some tools and skills that you can use to kind of move forward in your business with the new beliefs. So that'll be, and I'm hoping to do that once a month. So if you can't make it Thursday, there will be every 3rd Thursday for sure.
That's awesome. Well, where can people find you at?
Yeah, so and I'll actually pop it under the comments too.
Yes,
you can find me digitallyjoanne.com or on Instagram at digitally_Joanne, and then on YouTube at digitallyjoanne as well.
Awesome. What about you, Miss Kristin? Where can we all find you at?
I am pretty much my name on every social media platform. Just there are 2 I's in Kristin, so same thing. I'll put them in there. But I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, even YouTube, believe it or not. And then obviously here on Facebook, you can find me. But I'd probably say I do most of my free content and spend a lot of my time in my group. I have a group
Yes.
on Facebook that is free
Can
called
you please link that for us too?
Yes, it's known, liked, trusted. So it's great for business owners, entrepreneurs, because we talk about business leadership, growing in your business, relational skills, soft skills, things like that. It's a fun group. It's a engaging, interactive group. And so we'd love to have you join me in there.
Yeah, I loved seeing the video of introduction of your new office space today. I was like, man, I wish I could have the quiet. Is that where you're at right now? Go ask me about Kristen's group. She was talking about eliminating the clutter and eliminating the stuff in your brain so that when you get down and you sit down to work, like it's time to go.
Mhm.
All right, so make sure you drop all that in there. Christina, if we want to know how to connect with a pinup girl, how do we do that?
We are on Facebook and Instagram. It's just Pinup Studio NC. And then our website is pinupstudio.nc.com. Pretty simple.
I like it. I like it. And what about you, Miss Laura? Where can everybody find you and Forever Bridal at?
Yeah, we are on Facebook and Instagram. It's Forever Bridal NC, but we're most well known by Forever Bridal Wedding Shows. And that is also our website, or foreverbridal.net. Sorry, that's our website. But we're planning some other events for this year, in addition to some virtual shows. And yeah, so come check us out.
I'm excited. All right, and you guys, for Vendrali, it's pretty easy. We are at Vendrali on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I still don't do the Twitter. We'll figure it out. One day, Joanne is going to teach me how to get on YouTube. We'll figure that one out too. We're going to do all those things. Vendrali.com. You can connect with us there. But where we really want you to connect with us is over in our community groups. So if you search Vendrali, it will pop up. There are 6 of our different community groups, everybody from our coaches to our professional photographers, our service people, our direct sales, our buyers, sellers, retailers. There is a place for everybody. So if you're not quite sure where your place is, feel free to hit up our website and look for the spot in the top left. It says get started, and it will list off all those community groups, or make it super easy. Just drop me a message, amber@vendrali.com. I'd love to connect with you and figure out where the best place to get you in with our community. So you guys, thank you so much for coming by tonight. Is that Dom? Hey, Creeper. Everyone say hello to Dom. That's the other half of Forever Bridal. Hi, buddy. So thank you guys for coming to hang out with us. And Dom, I appreciate it. You were nice and quiet tonight. I love you guys. It was so good to see your faces. And until we can meet again in person, I'll see y'all soon. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
friend.
you.
Thank you.